Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrews Groves. I'm joined by my co-hosts, David Wyatt-Hupton and Matthew Merrett. Guys, we got the win, didn't we?
Let's
David?
go.
Yeah, let's go.
Victory, dubs.
Absolutely. David, what was your feelings about last night? Just a quick overshot.
Absolutely thrilled. Happy for Salah, happy for LaFleur, happy for everyone, happy for the fans. Stressed as hell. Like we were talking, bloody hell, that was stressful. That was a stressful game. That was a stressful finish. But, you know, Randy Bullock, my new favourite player in the league.
I had a feeling, like as he came up to the kick, I was watching it with the little one, and he was like, "Do you think he'll make this kick?" I said, "I don't think he will. You never know, but it's a long way away." And I was like, "Yeah, Randy Bullock is." When I saw the yardage come up, I was like 49
what
yards.
Was it?
I was like
49.
49. I was like, "There's a good chance he misses this." Like I don't rate Bullock at all, really. He's kind of bounced around. But yeah, so I was just, when it hooked left, I was just like, absolutely fantastic, because it was just been so annoying to just have that one, especially me being OCD, to have that one on the end of the record for the tie. It would have been so annoying to go still winless into London as well. So thankfully we picked up the win. Matt, what's your feelings about it? Your general overview?
Oh, so excited, man. So good. I don't think I sat down for about halfway through the fourth quarter. I don't think I was able to sit down when the Titans had their last drive and we needed one stop.
Yeah.
When we missed Corey Davis on third down before that, then in overtime when we marched down the field, looked like we could have got the touchdown to win it. A couple of nearly plays, and then watching their drive against us in overtime, it was awful. It was horrific. But after 2 years of Adam Gase and lethargic performances where you don't really care, where you haven't been engaged that late into a game, I think that is just, it's addictive, those kind of feelings during the end of the games. That's why we love American football and team sports in general, because that kind of not being able to take your eyes away from the game is so good. And to come away with the win on the missed field goal was so good. Having fought back from that, again, unfortunately, a pretty lethargic first quarter and a half, and then finally the offense seemed to explode and get it together.
Yeah.
It was so good to watch, and I think regardless of the result, it was just really nice to be that engaged with Jets football again. And I think that was the best thing about it, especially leading into what is now our London week.
Oh, I mean, it's just such a good feeling to be seeing the next week off on the backs of that win and the performance from Zach. David, the boy came through, slow start, but my God, some of the stuff he was doing out there was just stunning. It was stuff that we saw on his tape from BYU. Just great, right?
It's just everything you want to see, isn't it? It's his off-platform stuff. I mean, that does make the world of difference. And DJ said it right. A couple of those throws, there's not many QBs in the league that make those kind of throws. I'm thinking about the one down to Keelan Cole when he rolled out to the right. There's the one to Corey Davis where he kind of directed him and just said, just go. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but his press conference afterwards, that was probably one of the more interesting things because he actually explained what he saw on that. Yeah. And that shows how quickly his mind works. You know, he saw the safety come down. He saw the cornerback rolling on Corey Davis's hip, so he knew there was nothing deep, and that's why he pushed him deep.
Yeah.
And it's almost that made me
feel
so much more confident. Yeah, the Crowder one as well.
Where he explained he dropped down and knew what was happening, even when he was picking up the ball, and he explained that as well in the press conference. It was really impressive, wasn't it?
And that comes across from what LaFleur says about how much of a film junkie he is, that he really understands the offense. I mean, he does. You know, we've had weeks where he hasn't executed it as well as he can be. Rookies don't sometimes. That's just the nature of it. But the fact that he could execute those plays and execute them so well under pressure was just it's phenomenal. We'd love to see that. And you know, let's give a shout out to the offensive line, because we've been absolutely bagging them for the last few weeks for their pass protection, and rightfully so. They've been awful. You know, four pressures allowed yesterday. And when you think Tannehill had 21, 22 pressures on him, it kind of shows, you know, if you give Zach time, he will find someone. You know, he does work. He just needs a little bit of time, and the guys did that. So fair play. AVT had a good game. Moses had a good game. I can't remember hearing Fant's name, which is always a positive for a left tackle. So yeah, good game from him as well. Connor McGovern. Yeah, everyone had a good game in terms of pass protection. So, you know, that's really good to see. It's really good, you know, to see LaFleur draw some things up. Good to see Zach push the ball down the field and not doubt himself, like he did a couple of times against Denver. What's not to like about it? Yeah, what's not to like about it?
No, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry was going to always be he's just incredible. Like everyone knew he was going to run the ball with no AJ Brown, no Julio Jones out there. You knew it was just going to be on him. He had 33 touches. And just he's unstoppable. Like it is, like he's going to get his in some way or another. Like, and they even had a great performance against him. And yet, like if they didn't, it would have been like 250 yards for him. Like it was incredible the amount of how he gets the yardage. But overall, the defense was just immense in terms of slowing him down enough times to not let him break through. You know, I heard a stat from Greg Rosenthal from the Around the NFL podcast. So he was saying that the Jets had 4 guys with 6 pressures or more. Which is like, you know, it's like it hasn't been, that's like the highest they rate for a long time. So that it just shows how well that line is doing. And goodness, like if you added Carl Lawson to this, it would be game winning alone. Like we could have won some of these games in the last few weeks, even with all the issues we had. If we had Carl Lawson, I mean, just it's incredible what we could be looking towards for next year. As well, but I think we'll just break it down to kind of segments in terms of like, you know, guys who particularly impressed us, maybe some things we will look forward to for improvement going forward. So Matt, I'll throw it to you first. Is there any person you want to stand out as your kind of player of the game for the Jets?
Well, I think you have to start with the quarterback, don't you? And building on what David just said, and it was kind of pick your poison from Zach, the way that he kind of diced up that Titans defense. You had that overtime shot, and everyone talks about Zach's like ability outside of the pocket, and I'll come on to that. But one of the ones that stood out for me was that 3rd and 2 in overtime to Keelan Cole down the sideline, and that is a in the bucket throw, standing in the pocket, thinking about attacking down the field. When obviously it's overtime, you don't want to give any leeway, but he had the confidence in his arm to kind of find that man and just put it right on the money. Like it's one of those ones where it looks, as it leaves his hands, like he might have overhit it or kind of sailed it a bit, but he just gets just the right amount of touch and it drops beautifully in there. And I think that was so nice to see, because we do talk a lot about Zach's ability outside of the pocket and when it breaks down, but to see him find his man in stride from the pocket in such a clutch moment of the game was so impressive. And I think that balanced with the other, I think there are 3 other standout plays. There's the Corey Davis touchdown, which we touched on. There's the long completion to Keelan Cole, where that one looked like it could have been a touchdown. I haven't watched it back enough to see if Cole had to dive to make the catch or whether he kind of slipped in the process, because it looked like he was clean through. And then the last one is just the Crowder one after he kind of dropped the ball to rotate, spinning out to his left, which is kind of what we saw, that wow throw from his pro day, and getting his eyes down the field as he kind of rotates his head round, having faced his own end zone, is so impressive. So I think just seeing that step up, and he is a rookie, and we know he's a rookie, and there's going to be growing pains, and this isn't a sign that it's all going to be smooth sailing for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. He's going to still have his ups and downs, but I think having that tangible physical evidence of what he is and what he can be for this team is so exciting, and it has been needed, because we had the second half against Carolina where it was pretty good, but the last 2 weeks have been a struggle, and he has struggled, and we all said that it was going to click for him, and it was so good that finally happened, and just a really impressive, mature performance from him. It's a shame he couldn't quite get it done in those closing stages, but that kind of goes down to those ups and downs you're going to have. I think that 3rd and 10 to Corey Davis on the out route is a throw that he'll probably make 9 out of 10 times in his career. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit too much on it, trying to get it out there. And then there was the one on, was it 2nd and goal in overtime?
Yeah.
Where he kind of or 1st and goal, where he just kind of dropped it at Ryan Griffin's feet.
Yeah.
And I think that one is one that he would have liked to have back. But again, this is kind of the Ryan Griffin conundrum.
Well, yeah, we say, why was it Ryan Griffin there? You know, if it wasn't there, it would have been thrown to him. So we can just blame Ryan Griffin on that one. No, but
I think Corey Davis was free as well, wasn't he? Did you see the replay?
Yeah,
Corey Davis was free over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame too much for not missing Corey Davis, because I think the read was to get it out to Griffin. So, and he got it. Then he's rolling right into the end zone. He may have to truck someone to get in. Maybe there's someone meeting him at the goal line, but there's a good chance that he gets in. I haven't kind of been able to see the play after the madness of seeing it live, but yeah, it was just Zach's got to put on him, let him get in there, and kind of try and give him a shot at the end zone. And yeah, the Corey one, and at the end of the regulation was. Well, you knew it was gonna. I kind of just like, oh, he's going to miss that. They're going to get the ball, and then they've got they've got plenty of time to get down the field and tie it, and that's what they did. So not perfect, but we'll get to some of that stuff a bit later. David, who's your particular star of the game?
So I'm going to give it to Bryce Hall because I thought Bryce Hall was fantastic yesterday for several reasons. He was great in coverage. So he was targeted 9 times and he gave up 2 receptions for 27 yards. So straight away, that's outstanding coverage work by Bryce. Even if he is going against Chester Rogers and Josh Reynolds were the 2 main guys for them yesterday. So maybe a caveat 'cause it's not AJ and it's not Julio, but even so, you can only play the people that are on the field, and he did a fantastic job. And for some reason, Tannehill decided to pick on Bryce Hall, and it was the wrong choice. But he was really actually impressive as a blitzer. And there's he was only credited with 0.5 sacks yesterday, but he 100% generated 2 of those sacks on Tannehill because just the pure speed off the edge. Yeah. Before Tannehill even got set at I think it was a 3 or 5 step drop, Bryce Hall was in his face and he was moving up and he moved straight into the arms. I can't remember who it was who moved into it. It might have been Bryce Huff that he moved into, but just fantastic work by Bryce Hall. I just think he's such a talented guy. Last year we didn't really see the best of him. He was still coming off that injury, playing in the Greg Williams defense that potentially didn't suit his skill set. But I think Ulbrich and Salah really got him playing at a high level, and I'm really excited just to see what he can become. He's so young; he's only in his 2nd year, but he's already showing kind of signs of being a lockdown corner. So I'm really really interested to see how far he can go. Someone said this morning to one of my tweets said, "Is he a top 10 cornerback now?" And kind of like, it's a bit too early to call him a top 10 cornerback, but he's certainly on his way to being considered in that conversation if he continues at this rate for a whole season.
Yeah.
And that consistency is where it's going to live and die. And, he will get bigger challenges than Chester Rogers. That's just the nature of it. And how he responds is going to be really important. But I thought he was fantastic. Yes, I thought most of the secondary played well. Isaiah Dunn had a really big 3rd down stop, which is a really nice play. He kind of got his head around just in time to avoid the pass interference, so that was key. Eccles played well. I think Matt, you were going to say Javelin Guidry. His open field tackling once again showed out. Brought down Derrick Henry. You remember in week 1 when he brought down CMC 1-on-1 in the open field, which is near impossible. So Guidry's been playing well. Michael Carter II. I haven't looked at the target receptions for all of them, but I seem to remember him playing pretty well as well. Your cornerbacks, you're going to give up catches in the league. It's just important you don't give up those big completions and you don't give up those yards after catch. And I can't remember many instances yesterday of the Jets cornerbacks giving up those yards after catch. So the secondary as a whole played well. Didn't notice that many gaps at safety, which is kind of good to see because with Marcus out and Ashton Davis came back in.
Ashton didn't quite. He's not come back in just yet from his absence. So we had, I think it was Niesman and Colbert was out there starting.
I think they started, and then Davis came in for I don't know how many snaps he played. So I remember making quite a nice tackle on the sideline.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not sure how many snaps he actually played.
Just really good overall.
We'll get that today, but really really impressive overall. Like you said, Andres, Derrick Henry's going to get his touches. He's going to get his yards. He's, not surprised he finished how he finished because he's one of the best running backs in the league.
The guy was stopped. Like we got to him at the line of scrimmage on one play, and any other back they're getting maybe 1 yard max, if not being pushed back behind the line of scrimmage. He ended up getting 5 or 6 yards on that, like on the play. And I was just watching. As I was watching it and explaining to the little one, I was like, "This is why he's one of the best." It's just that small amount of extra yardage, and not even that small, that's massive amount of extra yardage compared to a regular back. That just makes such a difference. He's just incredible. Like just seeing him play and trying to manage it, and seeing some of our players trying to. I thought they did just an incredible job on him, even though like he still got his yardage. I just was so impressed with the job they did on containing him. Still,
I was really surprised to see it at the end and see how well he did. Because even with the flow of the game, I didn't necessarily at any point think, oh, God, Derrick Henry's running wild at this point. I never got that impression. But then you kind of look at his stats and, he's running at 4.8 yards a carry.
Yeah, it's incredible.
157 yards. And you're kind of like, wow,
Where?
I didn't know that.
I know.
Didn't register that.
It's just incredible. Like, you see the stats. I saw the stats once he had that really good, there was the drive that he got a lot of yardage. I think he got 50 yards. It was in the fourth quarter. And then they showed the yardage totals for each quarter. It was like 25, 37, 29, and 50. I was like, guys, he's already got like 130 already.
He's
I was
just
like,
so consistent, isn't he? Just when he gets his head down and
yeah.
they use him so effectively. There was the one, and this is kind of going back to the cornerbacks, but he, on the 4th and 1 in overtime where they did the quick pitch out to him because the Jets line pinched because it looked like Tannehill was going to sneak and a good audible by them and kind of get the pitch out. And he cuts back and he's just so efficient with the way that he can weave through traffic for such a big man. And that was the one where Javelin made that ankle tackle as it looked like he was about to break free. And that could have been a touchdown saver tackle. And that tackle was amazing. I don't know how much the exact weight is that Javelin gives up to Derrick Henry, but
considerable.
It's considerable.
Times
and
two, right?
That is the only way you're bringing.
Yeah,
that is the only way you're bringing down Derrick Henry there, isn't it? You get that perfectly executed ankle tackle.
Yeah.
And it was so good. But yeah, Derrick Henry is just one of those guys who keeps racking up touches. Because the Titans had a lot of offensive snaps yesterday, I think.
Yeah, it was like 97, I think it was.
Tannehill had 49 attempts plus the 7 sacks. So that's 56 pass attempts that they dialed up, which is a ridiculously high number. And obviously that's kind of increased because we went to overtime. But still, putting Tannehill in situations where he has to drop back that often without Julio Jones, without AJ Brown, was so important for the Jets getting the win. And I know Derrick Henry kind of got those yards, but there were enough times where the Jets made it 2nd and long, 3rd and long, that they were able to kind of get those stops and have that kind of bend, don't break mentality.
Yeah.
It wasn't always quite there. There was the 3rd and 20 right at the end of the game where we gave up 19 odd yards, which was very frustrating. But they kind of got there when they needed to make a stop. They were just about able to do it, the Jets.
They did just enough, right? They did just enough against it. Yeah, exactly. And that really brought the offense back into play. And then when the offense woke up, then we were in a real game. And thankfully, they did at just the right time that they came to life. In terms of like surprise performances, I mean, I'll throw one out there and you guys can comment on it. Quincy Williams, guy was just everywhere.
Ray Lewis II.
I mean, I know his technique, there was a couple of times when if he was a bit more, in tune with the game, he could have probably looked up and maybe even made a play on the ball a few times, but he was just looking to headhunt and just take out everyone. I think that was like what it is. They kind of like charged him up before the game and they said, now go get him. It's like sick him, right? Like he was just charged at getting Derrick Henry. And there was that one hit where Derrick Henry obviously got the first down on that, it was like a 3rd and 1 or something. But he got a hit on him, and it was just like you don't see you just don't see Derrick Henry getting hit like that very often at all. So yeah, the guy's he comes with a punch. He does. I said the technique's a bit worrying, and there's gonna be times where you're like screaming because he's done what he did last week, where he kind of somehow let someone slip out down the sideline and get the first down or like 3rd and 11. But in games like this, where you just need someone to put the hammer down, that's great. With Mosley doing what he's doing, just controlling it, I think it's a good pairing to kind of have Mosley kind of control him and help him out with the deficiencies and just kind of let him play his natural game. So I was really impressed with that. Matt, any surprising performances that you've got?
Well, not necessarily a surprise, but how good was it to see Jameson Crowder back in this offense? Yeah. I think it made a world of difference, and it goes back to what we were kind of talking on our preview show about using speed on offense as like a way of stressing out the defense. And having Jameson in there, his change of direction and his suddenness is so good. He's like probably top 5 in the league in terms of just that really fast breaks, quick feet, getting that kind of yard or two of separation. And that just opens so much up on offense when you can kind of use him as just the route to kind of clear out and create space, but also just as a underneath friend for your quarterback. I think on Zach's first touchdown, which was his, just that kind of suddenness to get to the right, and on the goal line, he had 2 yards of space, and Zach was perhaps a little bit late with his delivery, they said on commentary, which I think was probably fair enough because he did kind of lead him, but had the arm talent to make it up, and just having that. So I think Jameson Crowder being back in this team is so important for the offense, and it kind of was like, for the first time last night, I was thinking, well, maybe he does actually stay next season because he was so effective and such a weapon in this offense. And I think we've all kind of just resigned ourselves to the fact that he's probably going to lead at the end of this season. But I don't know, yesterday gave me food for thought in terms of his effectiveness, his dynamism, and having someone like that. Pardon?
It's the reliability, isn't it?
The reliability, absolutely. He's a go up and get a guy. He's not the biggest, but he finds those yards of space. So it's just such an effective weapon for the Jets to have.
I think it was a big difference. I mean, I think we're all very excited about Elijah Moore's potential, but there were, from what I was thinking with the game, him not being in the game, there was talk about what's missing. We know what's going to be missing, but we're basically exchanging Jameson for more in terms of what we've got in the lineup. And I think people were saying that what more has happened is that he's had some mental errors that kind of have caused his own ones, which are going to happen. But when you pair it with Zach's and then the offensive line struggling, it just adds another variable for a drive killer. Apparently I heard that one last week where Zach kind of threw it out to him. It was on a back shoulder, and it kind of landed on the floor, that one onto the left side. Apparently, that was Elijah ran a bit too deep, so Zach actually threw it where it had to go, but Elijah was a bit too deep on his run. So that was admitted by the coaching staff. So that's an interesting way. Well, everyone's going to make the mistakes, but it's just having Crowder there, who's not going to, he's going to have a lot less likely of those situations, mental mistakes. It just helps things go. And I think he's just a crucial part in the offense.
Yeah. What's important now, though, is it doesn't become an either-or situation, an either Moore or Crowder. There's plenty of room in this offense for both of them to kind of get speed on the field, to open up space for each other. The Jets have enough different pieces on offense you can provide different looks on different drives and play to play to kind of create those options for Zach. And I think it's going to be so important that we don't kind of just let Crowder take over from Moore because he's had this first game. They've kind of got to work together, and hopefully we see that.
I think the good thing about Crowder on that, it was on that pass that Zach dropped, or the fumble between the exchange, and he said Crowder was where I expected him to be. And that's a really underrated value. If you can kind of, like Matt says, turn your back to the play, turn around and know exactly that someone like Crowder has run the exact route, he's in the exact space, you do have time to let that go. And that was such a key play for us. And it's just underrated, kind of what you were saying, Andres, is, we can't always see whose fault that certain things are. So kind of that play to Moore, if you look at it just from a purely fan perspective, without knowing the game plan, without knowing the call, that looks like it's on Zach. That looks like he's underthrown him.
We thought it was on Zach for the whole week until I heard that apparently the coaching staff said it was on Moore. So that was news to me when I heard that. So yeah, for sure, yeah.
So it's hard for us to kind of judge it. We have to just use our experience, our best kind of judgment to say, who could potentially have been in the wrong. Just like we talked about on Friday with Wilson's second interception against New England, and after seeing it be explained and showing that Corey actually had to go off his route, it makes more sense now.
Yeah.
And I think, PFF, I was reading their report this morning, they were saying, and Wilson threw a boneheaded interception. And I was kind of like, I wouldn't really call that boneheaded because Corey Davis slipped. And had he not slipped,
last night's one,
last night's interception, they called it a boneheaded interception.
They see an interception on there, they see the play for 2 seconds, and they
haven't
you just have to look at the replay. You see Corey Davis drops, Zach puts it where Corey Davis would be, and he'll be probably lead. He'll be ahead of where was it Fulton? Was it that got it? He would be where Fulton, he would be there to kind of box out Fulton and get that, as we've seen on some other plays, and he wasn't there because he slipped and Fulton was ready to catch it. So
we should probably give Corey Davis a few props because he dropped one early on, and it was a bad one.
And then that is a negative play, even though it's unfortunate, it's still negative. So he came back very strong, didn't he?
And Salah kind of said, I'll say to Zach Wilson that you've got to be more accurate, you've got to put it in front of him. But at the same time, I'm going to go straight to Corey Davis and say that's a play that you've got to make, because he is being paid to make those plays. But you still have to say to Zach, that's not a great throw. You need to put it in front of him, and it makes it easier for your wide receiver. But I thought the other wide receivers as well. I mean, Keelan Cole only had 3 catches, but he had 90-odd yards. He came down with 3 big catches. We haven't spoken about Denzel Mims. He was only on the field for 10 snaps.
That's what happens when you win. We all shut up about it. Yeah.
Shut up. I still think there's a role for him to play.
I do so too.
Yeah, we need to look at I wouldn't be surprised if 5 of the running players went to his side. He is a good run blocker, so it'd be interesting to see if he did put some blocks on tape. I'm reaching now because he didn't have a single target, but I'm hoping that he stays active. And we didn't see too many problems on special teams. So, some people rightfully said, without Jeff Smith, we might see a few issues in terms of special teams coverage. Didn't see any of those, which says it's been quite nicely coached. So, Brand Boyle in the special teams unit, he's doing a good job there. All around good positive performances. Matt Amendola, made everything he could. So
I mean, he looks good. I mean, we don't know him in terms of a history, so there's always that nervousness that he's going to be a collapse is coming. Like you never know with these Jets kickers that we've had, where you go, "Oh, I wonder if he's any good," and you're like, "Yeah, that one game, you're like, no, confirmation he's bad, he's out of it." So you're nervous, but so far, so good, and he looks good from his kicks. They don't look, dodgy or anything like that. He looks like he's got a good leg on him, and it's accurate.
And he certainly doesn't skip weight training, does he? Because he is absolutely stacked for a kicker.
Yeah, he's got that stocky frame, doesn't he? He's quite short as well. But yeah,
came out. I thought he was a bit of a linebacker when he came out to line that.
He's a good-looking bloke as well. He's a good-looking bloke.
I know. So yeah, a bit of love in for Matt Amendola. But no, if we've got a kicker sorted as well, that's just another bonus. Just kind of keeps that consistency of the performance, right? So. And Morstead's done a decent in for Man. We'll see where we go when Man's back from the injury in a few weeks' time, because Morstead, I think he's done a pretty good job in filling for that. I think Justin Hardy's done a good job in his kind of role as the kind of special teams leader. He's always around the ball. He's always the one making the tackle thereabouts. So
he won the toss in overtime as
well.
He
won the toss, yeah, exactly. So no, absolutely.
Had another penalty though, didn't he? He had another penalty last night.
Yeah, he was kind of in between they said interfering with the.
I got pushed into it though. He got blocked into it.
Yeah, it was a bit BS. Like they kind of ran into each other, and then he got blamed for it because he was just there. But it was one of the ones.
Officiating was pretty poor last night.
Yeah,
we were talking the 2 third and long, or I don't even know if it was third, but the 2 long completions to Nichols. Both times we got a shove in the back on the lead tackler. I think one of them was Quincy Williams, and another one I can't remember who the other one was, but. 2 very clear pushing the backs, which prevented them from making the tackle, and so that's why I haven't really mentioned it. We could say we didn't stop them on 3rd and 20 something, I think it was, but it's hard to when you're getting pushed in the back when you're about to make the tackle. So they've got to call that, especially for the home team. You've got to call it for the home team.
Yeah, but it's the Jets, so we'll just play the narrative card of. I mean, we've had some really bad calls so far, though. We have had quite a few bad ones against us. The one against New England was a killer, and so hopefully these things even out still, and we get a few in our favour. But no, overall, I think it's just very a lot of positivity. And when I saw the video, there was a video from the sideline of like when they missed the kick and the celebration of the players. I saw Quinnen just standing there, kind of just like, almost like he was just exhausted, like it's over, we've won, and he was just kind of was embraced by some of the other players. And I saw that, and I made a comment on our Twitter saying, he was just exhausted. He was everywhere. It was an incredible performance from Quinnen. Like he was just breaking through, just ankle tackles, last minute little touches on Derrick Henry to slow him down so someone else can make the tackle. He was just immense in that game. He really was. He's coming on really strong. We
haven't given enough props to the defensive line, have we? Because Bryce Huff was superb as well.
I think it's time in the podcast to do so now.
Bryce Huff this season ranks 4th in the league in win rate on passing downs, which is
insane.
Unbelievable for an undrafted free agent. It literally reads TJ Watt, Bosa, Garrett, Huff.
I mean, that list ahead of him is incredible.
First rounder talents, and he's mixing it in with them. And I think that is one of the reasons the interior defensive line are getting these sacks, because they are kind of clean-up sacks from Bryce Huff forcing Tannehill. There are so many times when Bryce Hall did it as well, but Bryce Huff kind of forced Tannehill to step up into the pocket. And Quinnen was just there with welcoming arms to kind of take him down.
And the other guy on the other side of that line, JFM, can we sign him immediately to an extension?
His
price
value is going up.
Every single week.
His agent is basically sitting in his chair every Sunday just going, that's my commission. Up it goes. That's another 100 grand.
They got to get on with it. The guy seems like a really good dude as well. Like he's like a really good locker room. Like he's
not going to lose motivation from getting his money.
No, he just seems to be just the perfect guy to give to give a contract to, and hopefully, you know, at this point, you still won't have to give him too much because he hasn't made that much money in his career so far. So, you know, you don't want to underpay him, but get him now before you're going to have to really overpay him once those sack totals start going up, you know, because he's just
What's
playing.
he on? Is he on 4? Is he on 4 sacks now?
I think
3?
he may be on 3 or 4, but I mean, some of the
Pretty
plays
good for 4 games.
he's just absolutely abusing the people ahead of him, and he just absolutely just fires them into the quarterback on a constant basis, and just like the quarterback's like, "What I'm about to throw?" and suddenly one of my linemen or my tight ends flying into me from the right side. He's just doing an incredible job, and yeah, like I mean, you can imagine, you know, next year exactly if we get him signed up and we go, you got Quinnen. And Sheldon Rankins also, like just
Sheldon Rankins
the
playing well.
quality on this line, and the fact that we're missing Vinny Curry, missing obviously Carl Lawson, there's the quality that's there. It was right that we were rating this line as a top 10 before Carl went down. I mean, it's top 10 now. I mean, we're talking about it's a top 5 unit for me if Carl's there, because I can't see any way that with a combination of him and what the guys are doing on the interior, and then like Bryce Huff on the other side, JFM. Jesus, it's like
just being able to rotate them, it would be so key, just to rotate them in and out, keep them fresher. Like you said, Quinnen was absolutely exhausted at the end of the game. I saw Bryce Huff; he was looking pretty shattered at the end of the game. They all were. You know, if you then rotate in a Carl Lawson and then just keep them all fresh, I mean, that's insane. Like, good luck trying to defend that, because you don't rotate in your left tackle or your right tackle; they're not getting a playoff. So, you know, it's huge. And one more shout out, CJ Mosley. How good has he been this year? If PFF give him another bad rating, I'm cancelling my membership.
I mean, that one, he almost was like, you know what, I'm going to get all the stats that they want me to get. Like, I'm going to get, like, sacks, and I'm going to get, like, you know,
tackles for 13 tackles.
I mean, that one where
breakups.
There was that one moment when Henry actually broke through the line, and it was just one-on-one between him and Mosley and Henry. And he just stopped him. Like, it was just incredible. Like, he did just the job he did on him in that situation where so many other linebackers would he absolutely just smashed the bits. Like, it's just fantastic. It's technique, it's power. He knows his leverage. You know, everything is what you want from the guy. Is just playing outstanding. And yeah, PFF, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe their linebacker rankings doesn't line up properly. But I mean, honestly, like, he's just playing great all season.
I think what's even more impressive with CJ Moses is when you watch him before the snap. And normally your kind of middle linebacker, he kind of sets the defensive line, make sure they're over it, and kind of his linebackers. But you see him, he's doing all other 10 men, and he's communicating so well. He's very aware that he's got a young secondary behind him. So you watch him, 2-3 seconds he spends talking to his cornerbacks, talking to his safeties before each play, kind of orchestrating them. And he is just such a leader on that side of the ball, and the way that he's kind of taken them, it looks like under his wing, and no one deserves it more. He's had a rough 2 years before this, and he's not surrounded by the same caliber of people that he was in Baltimore, but he's playing at an all-pro level at the moment. Like, if he wasn't on the Jets, and we're all aware the Jets kind of get a media tax where they're looked down on, but if he was on another team, he would be a shoo-in for all-pro consideration. He is so good at the moment, and he looks like an $85 million linebacker.
Yeah. He's getting that we're getting the money's worth from him this year in terms of what he can do, not just in himself, but like I said, coordinating everyone else. Incredible job as kind of a on the field general, just absolutely just helping everyone else be in where they need to be, and kind of and helping everyone get in their place so that we have the minimum, you know, mistakes there, and it's just because we need it right now. The defense had to help out the offense. There's gonna be other games where this happens. You know, we're very excited about the youth on the offensive side, but you know, with the youthful play caller, and we'll get to him in a second, and then obviously with the quarterback, receivers, you know, Elijah Vera Tucker, you know, there's a lot of youth there. There's going to be more inconsistencies there. So with someone like Mosley kind of really managing also quite a youthful defensive side as well, it's really impressive. Just I mentioned him, Mike LaFleur, David. How do you think he did in this one?
I think he called a really good game. You know, I think he did. I think it comes back to what Matt said earlier, is having Crowder, and he actually stressed the defense in the right way. He sent people with a bit of pace in behind instead of sending Tyler Croft in behind, which opened up the middle a little bit, we can't get the running game going at the minute. That may cause us an issue against better defenses, against better teams, if we can't get that run game going. So we're going to have to work on that. But I think it was a really positive, and kind of what I was saying last week. LaFleur's a rookie as well. He's going to make rookie mistakes. It doesn't mean he's a bad coordinator. It doesn't mean he's never going to be able to put a flawless game plan together. That's just, he's trying to figure out how to get the best out of all of his players. And sometimes what he wants to do probably doesn't match up with our player personnel. It doesn't match up with their skill set or their strengths. So he's having to figure out on the go how to adapt to that, how to get Zach Wilson the right time, how to get him the best looks, how to design a play so that he can move off Corey Davis a little bit quicker. There's so many little bits and pieces that he needs to do. But I think he had a really solid game. I know Salah came out afterwards and said he thought LaFleur called a really good game. There were a couple of plays I didn't like personally, but you're always going to have that.
Yeah,
and we get to, we get it in hindsight. We get to, talk about Zach rolling out on the 4th and 1 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Didn't love the idea of that one.
No.
There were a couple of other pitch plays that they just weren't working, but we tried it 2, 3, 4 times, and we just weren't blocking outside well enough to be able to run those plays, and that probably attributed to our run game running at 2 point something yards a carry, or it might be over, but I know Michael Carter was 2.9. So there's loads of positives though. I mean, we can look at the negatives. There are going to be negatives.
Yeah, and things to improve on, right? Like you said, the running game needs to improve, but
But
that's good
it's
on
not
a
beneficial.
win, right? You get
exactly.
a win and you work on that and you move forward from that. Yeah.
It's better to look at improvements after a win than look at improvements after you've scored, 3 points in a whole game or been shut out. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm feeling confident. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in London next week.
Oh man,
like I always say to you, I like sitting up quite high so I can see the play designs and see how it all flows. And I think we'll get a really good view of what LaFleur's doing next week. And it's going to be an entertaining game because Matty Ryan was on fire yesterday, and we're going to have to figure out how to stop Cordarrelle Patterson. So
yeah, the newly invigorated and newly someone's figured out how to use Cordarrelle Patterson finally in offensive game plan. So now it should be a really good game, really exciting for all the fans going to Tottenham. So yeah, we'll wrap it up for today. Amazing performance last night, amazing game. We're looking forward to next week's. In terms of kind of events and things going forward, all right, so we've got, we'll be previewing the game obviously later in the week. We're going to have the Falcons UK guys on to talk about their team. We also will be having a special guest podcast that's going to be releasing late Saturday night, early Sunday morning UK time. I'm recording it on Saturday afternoon, so I can't do any quicker than that, but I've got a guest, and look out for that one. So that should be a pretty fun listen before the game. And in terms of events, I know the Gangrene UK guys have got an event with Nick Mangold with his barbecue sauce. That's on the Saturday, 10 till 1. If you hit their social media for that. We've got the Jets UK and Ireland meetup before the game. I believe that's 11:30 to 1:30 at the Elbow. Is it Elbow Room?
The Elbow Room.
The Elbow Room in Tottenham, and that's with our friend Olivia put that together for the Jets UK Ireland group on Twitter. So check that out. There'll be lots of Jets fans there. I'm going to try and hit that one for a little bit. A bit tied up with a few other things, but no, we're going to try and hit those ones as well if we can. We look forward to seeing you some of them there. Guys, any words, David, before we head off?
Just enjoy the win. And let's hope this is the platform now for us to really get this season started, really get the offense started. Let's upset a few people along the way. If we can't get into the postseason, let's just ruin some other people's chances of getting into the postseason. Most notably, like the Patriots, the Bills.
No,
let's just play everyone tough. It's a
I don't
good
think we're
win.
going to stop the Bills from getting in. They look pretty good, but anyway, Matt.
Yeah, they look pretty good. Hey, we'll take some upset wins against them then.
Oh, absolutely. Let's make our game against them. Matt, anything you want to say to the listeners before we head off?
No, just make sure you go and check out Salah breaking down the guys on YouTube in the locker room afterwards.
Yes, fantastic.
Justin Hardy gives
good.
a little speech and it gets you hyped.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go and check that out, and looking forward to Sunday's game and hope to see some of our listeners out and about.
Absolutely. So guys, enjoy this win, enjoy this week, and we'll be back at the end of the week to preview the game. So we'll see you then.